So I'm going to set up the tracks. My ears out. I'm going to set up the tracks for the drums today. The first video, I actually had played the guitar onto the track already and then sang to the track that I had played as the guitar part. So you didn't really get to see me play the guitar part in. I'm not a really great guitar player, to be honest. I come up with cool ideas and then I work really, really hard so that I can play them in tempo and express the dynamic ranges of them. But I'm not really a great guitar player. David Cleveland is a great guitar player. Guys that I've worked with all over in Nashville are great guitar players. I'm a hack, but I'm a hack that works hard at it. So eventually, maybe someday, I'll be a good guitar player. I don't think I'll ever be a great guitar player because my concentration is always to be a really great drummer. And that's where my passion and my heart are. So, and then everything else is in development. My singing, my guitar playing, my programming, my producing, everything else is just a work in progress. So today I'm going to set up all the tracks, which requires creating tracks for each of the individual drums. And I'll show you in just a few minutes how I've mic'd up the drums. They're in my studio, so they kind of stay this way all the time. But they're mic'd up for sessions. And like when I'm playing on either my record or somebody else's record, this is the way that the kit is set up. And so I set it up that way. It sounds really good. I've told you about the high ceilings in this room. And so the real concentration is to get a good performance in a nice, comfortable place that I have set up just for me. So, which is an amazing, amazing blessing, not something to be trifled with. I realize how blessed I am. But I'm going to set up the tracks and then we'll turn that direction and I'll show you kind of how the mics are set up. And then I'll kind of unfold some of the ideas that I have for this song. Because I haven't created it yet. Haven't created the drum part for it yet. But I have some ideas for it. I might play through some of those ideas and then print a version of it that will probably end up being the record version of it. So give me just a minute. Okay. Sneak in here for a second. So when I'm working on drum parts in my studio, I'm using a program that's actually a very humble program. It's called GarageBand. Most iDevices have GarageBand on it. And it can be a toy of sorts, or if you learn how to use it really well, it can be a really nice tool that is easy to use. It's very similar to another program called Logic. In fact, they're sister programs, essentially the same company created both. And eventually I'll probably switch over to Logic or Pro Tools for my platform. But for right now, I'm very comfortable working in this particular platform, so I like this one. So I've created in this big blank area down the bottom. Each of these on this side are actually tracks of things that are in the mix right now. So we got like these pop kit and things like that are all just click track kinds of things. This down here, the long panning echoes is a tambourine slash shaker that I did and printed. But then I've got like a vocal performance and I've got a guitar performance and all of that. So those are in there. And then down here at the bottom are 8 empty tracks. And they're marked kick, snare, tom 1, tom 2, tom 3, tom 4, overhead 1, and overhead 2. Those represent basically all of the drums that I'm printing. In other words, when I'm recording, each individual drum has a microphone on it that is set up to pick up that particular drum. And then that goes to an individual track so that once you've got all of those tracks in, you can manage the way that it sounds. Now, it runs, and I'll show you the microphone setups and all that stuff. This is hard to do. It's hard to do and talk at the same time. I'm going to shut off for a second, and I'll show you my mixing board, and then I'll show you the drums and how we've got it mic'd. So this is the mixing console that I use. It's a Mackie 1604. I like the fact that it has like 4 or 3 bands of EQ. It has panning and all of that stuff. You basically run through that, and you can see the cables in the very back there coming out. That runs from the outputs of each of these first 8 channels, which are all drums. Runs out of that, and it goes into my A to D converter, the Fire Studio, down here. See that? And then it converts that into a USB signal that sends over to my computer and records into each of those individual tracks that we were talking about. Then, so from, if I loosen this, that would be louder. So, on this side of the room, however, are the drums. I'm going to need to get back a little bit further so you can see everything. And starting with these microphones up above here, those are overhead mics, panned left and right to pick up primarily cymbals and the high-end kind of swishy stuff and that tambourine right there. So these 2 microphones are set up to pick up all of these different cymbal sounds. That tambourine, the hi-hat down here, these little splash cymbals that I've got up here, and this other crash. And then the way they're in the computer is kick drum, which is the low drum with the pedal at the bottom there. Snare drum, this is the kick drum, this is the snare drum. Then I've got a tom 1, 2, 3, and tom 4 over here, which is kind of an unorthodox setup, but it's something that I started doing when I was playing with Steven on the Great Adventure Tour, and I really like having the ability to use that second low tom in patterns and stuff that I do. So that's the way the signal flow is. You can see that. And so, again, kick, I'm trying to find my finger, kick, snare. And if I had an extra channel, I would go kick, snare, hat. Then I would go tom 1, tom 2, tom 3, tom 4, and then overhead left and right. So, because I've got it in my ears, because I've got the sound in my ears, and it's very isolated in these, and it blocks out a lot of the volume, honestly, of the drums, you wouldn't be able to necessarily hear the track that I'm hearing unless I leave the monitors on in this room, which I won't do when I print the final recording, but I'll play you back along with the video, the final recording through the mixer, so you'll hear all of the stuff that's going on around it as well. But the song is in 6/8. It's so this is kind of the stuff that I'm hearing in my headphones. There's the guitar part, and the vocal will come in. And I'm thinking in the first verse that I'll probably just lay out, or maybe just do some cymbal, splashy kind of stuff. A little and I might come in on the second verse. exploring some ideas and kind of free flowing with the music until I find something that I go, ooh, that sounds really cool, or oh, I really like that. So it's all just based around what my heart is telling me the song actually needs to have. Sometimes it's right. Sometimes I really land on it the first time and it's like, wow, that's really cool. Other times I mess around with it a little bit. I play it 4 or 5 different ways. I might do it on toms one time. I might try it with brushes. I might try it with other things that I would use in performance until I find something that kind of inspires me, and then I go with that. And then it's the concentration of locking that in so that it's accurate and it's in time, well in time. It's displaying a pocket, which are terms that you probably wouldn't understand, but musicians would understand. And so there's all kinds of different techniques and stuff that I'm using the whole time I'm going through playing this. And ghost notes on the snare drum, or the way that I come out of a fill, maybe out of the not landing on the one, or there's just hundreds and hundreds of different little techniques that I use. And so, and I'll just explore those. I don't let myself have an opinion until I feel like I've landed on something I really like. And that's how it develops. So the next one that you'll see will be after I've developed it into the full, the song, the form of what I'm going to do in the verses, what I'm not going to do in the verses, what I'll do in the choruses, how I build the chorus, or how I build the end of the second verse, or the pre-chorus into the chorus, and give it some place where it can go and things like that. So I don't know if this is fascinating to you guys, but this is what goes on in my brain all the time. So there you go. So in the last video, you were hearing the drums actually through the microphone on my iPad, which the snare drum was overdriving, the hi-hat was overdriving. It's really not designed to, do what we need to do to make that sound great. On this one, I'm going to switch you over to hearing what's coming out of the console and see what the tracks sound like. So I think I'm pretty close on this, so I'm going to try to print one.
Feel like I'm adrift on the ocean, alone as a man in the moon, awaiting your shadow to walk through the room. I'm missing the shape of your silhouette. It's been haunting my memory, while your scent is fading like old potpourri. Yeah, it's been a long time since that day in September. All that I'm asking is just to remember, 'cause what's 38 years such a long time. Was it only September? Maybe writing this song's gonna help me remember what's 38 years. You're so in love, having and holding the one you had always dreamed of. 38 years, how time marches on. Seems like one day I'm holding you close and the next day you're gone. I'm left standing here, my eyes full of tears, over 38 years. My eyes filled with tears, over 38 years.
All right. I think we got us one. I just listened back to everything. It sounds great. I hope you guys enjoyed it. That's the version of it that I'm playing for you right now. I think that's the final version, but I won't know that until I get all the way into the mix and start building some of the other things like electric guitar and keyboard and things like that, bass. And but it sounds really good. It feels like it fits kind of the song, and I like it. So, and I'm the one that matters right now. Hopefully you guys like it too. That would be awesome. So I just, I love doing this, and it's Sunday. I just played worship today at Rolling Hills, Nashville, and so getting to sit down and play again today is pretty awesome. So I hope you enjoyed it. We love you guys. I hope you have a blessed day, and we just bless you from the bottoms of our hearts. Thank you for all that you're doing for us and for being on this journey with us. We'll talk to you soon.